What's up, guys? So, things have been really crazy. I've not been actually editing the videos just because I am having a really hard time not getting wrapped up in all this, like, being at home thing. But I did, a little bit ago, take the car out, and some stuff happened. No, I didn't wreck the car, but something that I'm surprised has taken this long to happen finally happened. Basically, I went out with Ryan. We were going to go for a drive, obviously apart from each other, but we stopped in a little spot that we knew of, and just took some frustration out on our tires real quick, and I whacked lock at limiter a couple times, and I think we all know what happens when you got a JZ and you've got an original power steering pump. Well, yep, finally killed the power steering pump. Sorry for the clickbait, but it was puking out like crazy. Yeah. Oops. But, a couple cool things. I did make it home. The power steering pump didn't lock up or anything. It wasn't like it like exploded or anything like that, but the front seal just started dumping fluid out. I didn't realize it actually until I was cruising down this back road, and like the windshield started getting like a glittery look on it. And from where I don't have a windshield wiper, thankfully, I couldn't exactly like try to just clear it. I thought it was just like maybe overspray from the bumper, which I did get painted. But it wasn't. It was actually fluid coming out of the hood vent. Yeah. I'm going to flip you guys around, let you check it out. You obviously know what a blown up power steering pump looks like, but just going to give you, this is actually going to be a video of updating some of the things that have been going on while I'm here at home and getting the car out. I've actually been like almost like dailying the car. Like if I have to go to work, I take the car because I don't have to cart the kids around. So, flip you guys around here real quick. Okay, so first of all, you guys can see this is where I came home. Little snail trail action here, but yeah, so all the way into the driveway. And you can see where it was actually like dripping out of the hood when I had the hood up. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. You cannot. But there's a huge puddle under the car. So all through here is all wet. And that's all because the belt was slinging it. You can see it's all wet through here. It was all nasty. It got all over here. It was all over the fans. Try to get a light going. You can kind of see that there's a puddle down there. But basically what was happening, right there is where the shaft is. And it's just dumping fluid out of there. As soon as there's any kind of pressure, it just dumps out. You can see it's super wet down in there. So I think the plan is to, for now, swap the pump for the Aristo pump that I have. It's a little bit different, so I'm going to have to figure that out. However, the one thing I will say is that I have a buddy down in Texas, and he was telling me about a place in Dubai. So I got a bunch of OEM parts. I got 2 pump reseal kits. This has the front main seal, I guess, and then it's got the seal that goes in between all the parts and all the internal O-rings. I got 2 of those. These are super specialty, so the Mark IV Supra and the SC, probably a few of the others, they have a variable assist rack, but it's like a mechanical thing, and it basically has a solenoid on it that has like a low, mid, and high speed bypass system, so like the amount of, like the steering feel gets heavier as you go faster, and then if you're just sitting still, it's full assist. But these are the O-rings that go in between. So usually if you buy a remanufactured rack, it doesn't come with that big solenoid. But these you cannot find easily at just a regular old Toyota dealership. So I got some of those, enough to do 3 racks if I need to take it off, or I know I have one for my buddy Pat. He's got a Supra that needs a rack put in it. I have the rack, but we haven't been able to get these O-rings. So got those. I got some power steering feed O-rings. I might modify one of the inlets to have a -10 on it, so that I can quit just shoving a hose on it. This is a bearing for the front of a power steering pump. So it's the front load bearing that goes at the front of the pump, just in case. I have a couple pumps now, so I'm going to rebuild 2 of them. One being the one that's currently on the car that's dumping. And then I've got a couple other like naturally aspirated ones, which are the same. But if any of them have a bad bearing, I'm going to replace the bearing. Now these are the power steering rack seals. I have a couple spare racks. So I'm thinking I'm going to just change the end seals, because this is what usually dumps fluid out. Yeah, so plans. I've got some stuff as well to change the catch can on this, and you can see the catch can that's on it. It's over by the exhaust, which I really don't like. It's also kind of ghetto because it was like a quick thing that just has stuck, as do so many things with race cars. So it currently collects into a single like breather line. It has AN lines on the valve covers and everything, but I've just teed it to go into a single line over here. Again, it was a quick fix that I just stuff that I had. So this is going to go away. It's worked great, and I've never had any issues with like fires or anything like that over here because of it. But at the same time, I would much rather move it over here, and I have a vibrant catch can, which is a lot nicer than that one, a lot prettier. It's going to basically bolt to the tub here, and then I will run the lines somehow, not really sure how, but hopefully cleanly, basically where they'll loop around and then come and go into the top of it, like right in here, I'd guess. I did modify, I had to like cut the bracket and then re-weld it so that it can like bolt through here and then sit down in here, and it has a like a drain on the bottom, so we'll see. I might put riv nuts in that so that I can take it up and just drain it. That would make life a lot easier. You can see I really need to clean this thing. Poor thing's not been cleaned in so long, but it's a good look. I love the way the engine bay looks on this thing. But things are going to change. I've mentioned before that I'm going to do a rear mount radiator, which I'm going to take and build an intercooler. I've got a vibrant core that I'm going to stand straight up. And then like the pipes will go directly in to the top. And then hopefully use a little bit more of the core, because right now you can see where the fans are positioned. It kind of wants to go just straight across. So I've never really had any issues with inlet air temps as long as the fans are running. But yeah, when you're not moving and you're moving sideways, like you don't exactly get like direct air. Now my bumper has a very large opening, which is really great because when you're sideways, it really kind of scoops from both sides. And then I do have some like ducting and like air dams to keep it from just spilling out. So the intercooler and the radiator are kind of sealed together at where the V actually comes together in the back. And then like I said, the sides are kind of blocked off now. It's not really blocked off over there or over there, but you can kind of see up in there. It does get good airflow as long as you're moving really good, but it does need a better fan, because I never bought a better fan after destroying things at Grid Life a few years ago. This fan worked, just kept using it. The other issue is like there's a definite ground clearance issue underneath the car with a fan. So like I'd like to have a big fan shroud. But like if I go too low, it's just going to drag on stuff. If I do go off, or if something goes under the car or whatever, not only will it destroy the bumper worse, poor thing, look at that, it would, knock the fan off, which would be terrible because you don't really know unless, you stop. But most of the time we don't stop if we bump into each other. So, yeah, so some of the stuff that is going to be coming up is I'm going to do a power steering pump rebuild, a few other things. But for this, we're just going to swap this pump, hopefully. I'm waiting for a vise. I don't have a vise at the house, so that's something. I ordered a vise. I ordered some more tools to do like wood stuff. You can see I've been working on that. Been working a lot. Some new stuff coming with Haltech stuff. I organized over here. You can't see. There it is. Just been trying to organize a little bit. That corner actually hasn't been really usable since we moved everything into the garage. So let's swap this pump and make sure we don't have any leaks. Well, I've been working on this thing a little bit tonight, finally. Got the charge pipe off. Would you look at how much blue is in the intake manifold? Intercooler, you can't really see, but it's in there. The whole thing is absolutely full of blue. Got the belt off. I cracked the nut loose on here. Got the feed line off, which I did make a new feed fitting for. Got the filter off, which was kind of melted to the turbo, so that's great. Such a beautiful turbo. But, yep, so gotta get this pump off and we'll kind of see where we're at once I get the pump actually out of there. There's a couple, like I retained all of the like brackets and stuff to brace the pump in hopes that it would save the pump, and obviously it did for a long time. So gotta get that all off. I will get it off. We'll get it on the bench, let you guys see what's up. Okay, so got the power steering pulley, or got the power steering pump off. I also got the pulley off. I took that off beforehand because there was a couple trapped bolts, because that's not an OEM pulley. That is the drift motion underdrive pulley to slow the pump down. It still worked perfectly at high speeds and everything like that, but it just slowed it down so it wasn't like superheating the fluid and everything. Would you guys check out how much blue is still in the intake and everything? I mean, I guess it makes sense, I never really like cleaned it out or anything, but that is an amazing amount of like blue goop. And I'll tell you what, as soon as you touch it, it comes off on your finger. Like, I mean, even just touching it, just barely, and it comes off. So, I got the pump on the vise over here, so let's go check that out. All right, first thing, no judgment, it is a mess. Obviously this corner is clean, and that's just because I finally got a vise for the house. And yeah, so this is the pump that came off of the car right here. And you can see it's got an AN fitting there and everything. You can see how wet it is in there, and that's because the seal that's back behind that bearing is totally shot. It was just like puking out the front of the pump. So the other thing that I'm actually finally doing, because I've just always had an AN hose shoved up in here, I finally made an AN fitting adapter for this thing. So you can see basically the inlet that I had for this other pump, it's an Aristo pump, and I just chopped it down. I had a -10 like steel weld bung that I shortened it like crazy, and I welded it on, threw a little bit of paint on it. All I had was like a metallic black, which is kind of funny. So the thing that I kind of wanted to show you guys was, so I have like a VVTi2J Aristo power steering pump, and there are some differences that hopefully don't, bind me up at all. So look over here. The Aristo has this solenoid on it, and I'm guessing that this is very similar because this is the same plug that was on my power steering rack. So I think the like GS2 Aristo, second gen Aristos, they use this solenoid to actually vary the power steering pressure via the ECU and the speed, so that you have like high amounts of assist at low speeds, and then it like just dials the assist back the faster you go, so that you get a better road feel when you're going faster. On the SC and Soarer, this same system, this is like a kind of like a bypass, is done on the power steering rack. Now, again, this is a guess. I don't actually know that that's what this is. The pumps are pretty much identical. This one has like a little brace here, which I need to get off. Probably something that I should have on my car, but I don't. It's been fine so far. So I'm going to pop this off, see if this will work. If it is going to work, then I will actually use this. But I might have to take this solenoid off and then swap it with this piece here, because that's where this fitting goes. Now, my bet is that those threads and those threads are identical. So as long as this thing here isn't going to jam me up, I might just use it, run with it, leave it as is. I don't really know how this thing works, but if I can get this off and just replace it with this thing right here, my big thing is I don't want the thing to go like boing and like a bunch of parts fly everywhere. I don't know that I have the O-ring for this guy, or this, and all I really want to do is make this thing like have power steering again and not puke fluid everywhere. So I'm going to try to do it with this on there still, and just like not plug it in, I guess. So I guess I'm going to get this bracket here taken off of the pump so that I can put this pump on that bracket, I think. Ooh. Yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I said that this was different from this, and the only reason that this one here is different is because I forgot I cut one of the ears off, because that ear here interfered with the larger diameter power steering pulley. So I like chopped it off here, and then it just utilizes the bolt through the back. So that this is like where the AC bracket, or actually the front of the AC compressor like kind of braces this, and I wasn't running one. And I had heard of people killing these pumps because they didn't have a brace here. Now, there was a couple people at the time that were supposed to be making a whole new setup for these to brace it, but I just like hacked up a AC compressor that I had that was bad. So it has it, it doesn't utilize this anymore. So right here, you can see really the two pumps are actually pretty much identical, other than this solenoid versus no solenoid. I might try to take this out of the pump that I know is leaking like crazy, and if nothing goes boing, then I might try to take this off. So worst case, if something happens when I take that out, then I at least still have this one intact, and I can just swap things around and hopefully get the car going again. So I'm gonna, I guess, put that one in the vise and see what happens when I take that thing out. Alright, good news. It did not go boing. It is spring-loaded. You can see this guy right here, if it'll focus here. So you can see this guy, it does have like an O-ring on it. So I have the O-ring in the rebuild kit, but I don't think that I want to just sacrifice that O-ring if that pump will work until I can rebuild this one. I mentioned earlier that I got a rebuild kit for these. So I got a new bearing if I need it, but this has like the new seals, the new O-rings, everything to go in here to reseal the pump. It still worked great, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I think I'm just going to try that thing, see if it works. So just give it a try. All right, we have new to me, kinda. New to the car power steering pump on the original bracket that was modified. We have both of the AN fittings in for the feed, and then the new, I'm sorry, this is the pressure, and then this is the feed. So I guess technically this feeds the racks, but either way, the new AN line on this guy, so that should be a nice upgrade. It never leaked or anything, but it like you cannot get the hose off because it's like a -10 that's like crammed on the end of an original Toyota barb fitting with a big clamp on it, which is kind of ghetto, but it has worked for all these years. Like I said, I just left this thing on because where I do have the correct O-ring, I just don't want to, burn it up by using it on this just in case this pump just leaks immediately anyways. So I will be rebuilding that guy down there at some point. I just don't have snap ring pliers, which you can see down in there. You're going to require some snap ring pliers in here to get this bearing out, and I just don't have some of the tools that I think that I'll need to rebuild this here at the moment. I've got it all at the shop, but obviously I'm working at the house. The place is a wreck. I am working on cleaning everything up, like you can see over there. Like, got a bunch of stuff organized. And then over there, it's also more organized than it was. It's still kind of a mess. You can see low mount wing from the back. Sure looks good. But, yep. Oh, I got the half-cut bumper. That's a stock OEM half-cut. So, I kind of like the way it looks. I kind of forgot that the overs are extended to where the back bumper would normally meet up with it and kind of make the back of the car even wider than normal. But I really do kind of look like the half-cut look. We'll see. I know that it's kind of floppy, but whole nother subject there that's unnecessary to get into right now. But I'm gonna get this back in there. Probably not tonight. It's like midnight. I do have to get up and work in the morning. So probably gonna call it a night for tonight. I'll pick this back up as soon as I work on it again later. Alright, another night working on the Lexus. Put this power steering stuff back on. I wanted you guys to see something. If you guys are having problems and you do drifting and stuff and you're around other cars, you'll notice you'll get a lot of rubber in the engine bay. So I noticed I actually have some rubber in this pulley. So as you can see right here, that was actually in the pulley, like where the belt goes in the ribs. So if you're having problems throwing belts, you might check and see if you've got rubber in the grooves of your pulley. I do. One thing I'll point out is with the oversized pulley on this, it does contact the tensioner. So everything's still loose, so that I can still turn this thing around and get all these pieces of rubber out and everything like that. But what you have to do is put tension on, or I guess, move the tensioner and tighten the bolts down by hand as much as you can. Get a wrench on the two, or a ratchet probably on the two, get them snugged up. And then there's one in the back here, but the fact that you can see both of them turning at the same time, that's kind of a pain. Only real downfall of this pulley. But if you do toss a belt, you'll pretty much always have your belt. Like, you're never going to lose it unless you break it. So that's always good news. But I only have, 2 hands. So I'm going to put the camera down, get everything tight, get the belt back on, take you through some of the other stuff. Alrighty. Pump's in there, pump's tight. I ended up having to take the pulley back off again so that I could get everything tight. I kind of forgot that there's a bolt down in there and you can't access it with the larger size pulley. I did get my line on, And with this being a little bit different orientation, I'm really thankful that I've got this line as just a pre-made like -6 deal, because it allows for a little bit of flexibility. I tied it to the little AC, the front part of the AC compressor that's no longer, an AC compressor, but it's all a brace. So it can't rub on those oil lines down there for the oil filter. I borrowed the little Vibrant Haltech, the Vibrant adjustable AN wrench from work. You can see it says Haltech in there. But I borrowed it because I'm going to have to make a couple lines, and after doing the V12, this thing was just amazing. Now, I have AN wrenches and everything, but this makes life a lot quicker. And, yeah. So, the other thing is that solenoid. So, I talked to my buddy Spencer up in Canada, and he said that it needs switch 12 volts put on it all the time for it to work correctly. As I suspected, this is how they vary the amount of power steering pressure on the Aristos. Mine is on the rack itself, so I'm just going to... I actually had a spare output from the Haltech with switch 12 volts, basically for a solenoid. So I made a little extension harness and put a little Deutsch DTM2 on here so that I can set up some conditions in the ECU that will allow this to basically turn on whenever the ECU is on, or I could set it up to be like as soon as the engine RPMs are greater than this, it just turns on. Whatever, just so if it's not running, it's not just trying to hold that thing. So I'll probably just set it up to where it will be like conditions where as long as it's above 300 RPMs or something, that it switches that solenoid on so that it has full pressure going through that line. The one thing that I am going to have to do now is make a line for this. You can see this is how it was done. And it is an AN line, but it's super ghetto. Look at that big, stupid clamp. So it's just clamped on. So I'm going to make this right, finally. And put an end on this line, a little -10. And it's leaking everywhere. But yeah, so I may make a new one and replace that line. It might be long enough. So I may just put an end on it right here so that I'm not having to take the line out, and there still is fluid in the reservoir. So I think I'm going to need a 90 just so that it will clear the throttle body and everything, and the charge pipes that are going to be right. A charge pipe little guy that goes right here. So I'm going to go rummage through some of my fittings that I have and see what we need to put here, and we'll pick up there. All right, rummage through my box. Found a -10 that I had. You can see there. This thing's casting a lot of shadows, but let's see if I can get this other light. There we go. I don't know if that's better or worse, but you can see the -10. That line should work. So that line will go into that fitting. And yeah, so that's good. Nice to have fittings. Got a box of them. So yeah, I try to keep a lot of fittings on hand, just in case you have like a situation where you need to make a line kind of like this, or repair line or whatever, because it sucks trying to fix something like this simple and then having to wait, a day or 2 or 3 or however many it takes to get from like Summit or Jegs or Amazon or whatever. So I try to keep Vibrant stuff. I've had the least amount of issues with them, basically none. I've used them, and then Red Horse are my two probably top fitting companies. Currently, Vibrant's the easiest to get. Summit keeps all the sizes and everything in stock, and from where they are like 2 days away or a day away sometimes, you can order it and it'll be here the next day and not have to pay like overnight shipping and stuff. So, like I said, the Vibrant stuff has been the easiest to assemble lately and to actually get my hands on. So, I keep a bunch of Vibrant stuff in stock, obviously for fabrication, but their fittings and their hoses and their lines and everything are also really great. I'll tell you what, honestly, after building that quad turbo V12 and using all the Vibrant stuff, like really, that's all I ever want to use. And on my car, I have the luxury of just saying, screw it, I'll do that. Sometimes customers don't want to, shell out a few extra bucks, but honestly, pay the extra money. Sometimes it's the same price or even sometimes less. So do your homework. Cheap fittings will leak and are harder to assemble, and the anodizing doesn't last. All of that. Buy quality fittings. I recommend, like I said, Vibrant. I had a lot of great luck with the V12 project. So, yeah, I'm going to try to do this with as little mess as possible. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I might make a huge mess, but I have some big like loppers they're like an all-star performance, like they're 4 like braided hose. So, put them in there, figure out your length, put them in there, and just, like for like a tree. So it just cuts it right off. Gives you a nice straight cut, and you don't have to deal with like, cleaning out the hose from using like a cutoff wheel or something like that. So, yeah, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm probably gonna make a huge mess everywhere, but I'm gonna try to not. So, yeah, I'm gonna do that. All right, so you guys can't see my face, but I did already cut this guy off of here. Got my fitting here. These things just shove onto here, and you go all the way down to the threads on these. Different companies do different things, but on these Vibrant fittings, you go basically down to the threads on the like nut portion. I'm gonna tell you guys, this right here will save your life. I've had this bottle for probably 10 years. So buy you one of these, like 10, 15 bucks on Summit. Earl's Hose Assembly Lube. It's like, kind of like, it's almost like engine assembly lube. I've used everything from like synthetic oil and everything like that, like engine oil. This is definitely what you want. It works the best. There's the part number there. So what I usually will do, the inside of this hose is totally saturated with power steering fluid. So I'm going to put a little bit on my finger, put it on the threads here, put it on the threads on the actual fitting, and then definitely put a little bit on the actual like snout of this fitting. So I threaded this thing on here now. So, now, like I said, my kind of cheap Speedway adjustable has seen better days. and it did mark up the anodizing a little bit. But as it is an aluminum wrench, it didn't like tear it up, so it doesn't look too bad. Normally, if this was a brand new line, you would want to clean it all out and everything like that. But I did get some of the fluid out. It's really gross. I think that at one point I had just regular old ATF in here. And then I found that using the Lucas power steering fluid stuff, like the high performance stuff, tends to work better. Not get as hot and not boil out. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend. It does work with ATF. It's just I have found that I didn't randomly lose power steering when I was using the Lucas stuff. And I think that I just grabbed that when I was at an event when I lost power steering once. So just kind of tried it on, not necessarily accident, but I saw that it was like a high performance power steering fluid. So I gave it a try, and that's all that I've been using since. So I like to always snug these up by hand first, because sometimes these big lines are a little bit hard to maneuver. But if you go to just hit it with a wrench and you cross the threads up on these, you could ruin both the fitting on like the male fitting and the female fitting. So start it by hand, go as far as you possibly can. You know, you want to wiggle until, you know, you can just barely turn everything. That kind of ensures that you're, you know, on the flare straight, and you don't have it like crooked a little bit, because it can be a little bit crooked, because there is a little bit of movement between the nut and the actual elbow or the flare itself. So if you get it all tightened down by hand, then all you have to do is take your wrench and make sure you hold your line, or it is going to turn on you. Give it a snug. Now, you don't have to go as crazy on these things as you would think. Technically, with the aircraft standard, you could, you know, put a really good hand snug on these, and they should technically not leak. That's not saying they will not loosen up, but the way that the aircraft lines that these were modeled after worked were, you know, if you had your flares straight and the male and the female went together correctly, it wouldn't leak with just a hand like snug. Now, again, these aren't aircraft, but they are really super high grade. So, like I said, to keep you from damaging and ensuring a good seal, tighten them all down by hand, and then snug it with a wrench. All right, and just like that, I got it back together. So I did clean this tube out. I cleaned the throttle body out. I cleaned a little bit, like basically as far as I could reach into the intercooler to get some of that blue out of there. I wore gloves, and I'm glad that I did, because it dyed the gloves blue. Yeah, so new pumps in there. I replaced my little like socks. You know, you see people with like the sweatbands on there, and there's a reason. It catches any kind of junk that blows out. I did crank the wheels back and forth. I jacked the front end up so they are turned all the way to one side for another project. Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to show you guys was these loppers. These are the All-Star Performance. And then you see, hopefully, I'll pull it over here. You can see how straight, that's literally, I just put it in there and then went down and chopped it off. So, works great. I'm obviously going to save this inlet fitting, because it is a like Soarer specific. It doesn't actually matter, because, you know, what I just did. But yeah, so it's back together, full of fluid. I'm planning to drive it tomorrow to work. All right, so I'm gonna plan to drive this thing tomorrow. I've got to go by work, and it's supposed to be really nice. It's been super nasty around here, like 50s and misty and raining, and just absolutely gross every single day. Yesterday it was so cold that I was freezing in here. I had to put the garage door down. I couldn't work with the garage door up. Once I closed the garage door and there wasn't a breeze or anything, it was fine. But yeah, it's been a weird thing. Getting pretty tired of being away from my friends, especially when it's like super nice out. Um, I miss all of my car friends. During quote car season is really where I see most of my friends, and haven't been haven't been seeing them. And yeah, it's been kind of weird. You have like an excess amount of time at home. That doesn't necessarily mean you have an excess of time. I'm still working full time. My wife is still working full time. We've got both boys here. Joey is teething, which is terrible. He's gone from the most chill baby in the world to being a like psychopath. Aiden's a lot like me. He just can't sit still. So unless we go for like a morning walk or like I turn on some music and he dances for an hour, he's a lunatic. Like bouncing off the walls, just whatever. So we're all getting a little stir crazy. I am pretty much the only person in this household that goes anywhere. I'll usually go get the groceries. Now my wife did go last time, but I mean we're just doing like pickup. It's not like we're going in the store. But I do go to work to pick up supplies and have meetings. Obviously at a distance with PPE and all that stuff that is recommended and required and everything. They are starting to open things up a little bit. They started like phase 1 this week. I am not required to go back to working in the office. Jason is there working in the office, and he actually got tested. He got negative tests and everything like that. But from where I am working efficiently from the house, I'm just going to continue to do so until we really figure out if we're going to have another spike and all this stuff. And yeah, it's weird. This time is weird. I'm ready for it to be over. I really hope that everybody's staying safe. I know that these uploads are really, really weirdly placed. Hopefully I can get a bunch of stuff edited and, put out for you guys. I know everybody's like hanging out at the house, so this would be a perfect time to show you guys what I've been doing. Yeah, so hopefully I can get better about actually sitting down and editing these videos, but by the time I work all day, hang out with the kids all day, and usually cook dinner. If you follow me on Instagram, you see all the food that I like to cook. That's been a savior. I love to cook. It's good for my head. But yeah, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Hopefully this video wasn't just obnoxiously long. I don't really know. It feels like it's gonna be long, but whatever. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions on some of the stuff that I've done, let me know in the comments, or whatever. Comment on another video if you want. But yeah, hope you guys are all doing okay. Stay safe. Try to be as happy as you can. Get outside. Spend time with your in-home friends, family, roommate, whatever. Be smart about what you're doing. So, see you soon.